Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that the future of the Star Wars universe seems to be quite expansive, not just with their new Star Wars comics, books, novels, and video games, but also, let's not forget about the new Star Wars TV shows and films on the horizon that are all currently in the works by Jon, George, Dave, and other creators coming on board to really propel Star Wars in a brand new direction. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, where we stand today is a very interesting time, because with Andor now out and a lot of fans having mixed reactions on that so far, we also have Tales of the Jedi coming out in just 6 days, 6 more days until Tales debuts. Now, I know some fans have been very underwhelmed and disappointed with the run times of each episode, the shortest one being 10 minutes long. I don't know why, they decide to make these so short, but they're meant to be very short episodes. That's kind of like what they were catered out to be. But I digress. Moving on to the next big thing, and a big decision that Favreau recently made has a lot to do with one of the upcoming Star Wars TV shows that are currently in the early works as we speak, that's really going to propel things forward past the events of a specific era in the universe. Now, given that actress Daisy Ridley, alright, we already know that she's been heavily involved with talking to Favreau and Filoni about upcoming projects. She's already signed on for a post-Episode 9 series to come back as multiple cameos as Rey once again. And we're going to be learning more about that next year, so keep your eyes out there. But everything related to this is a very interesting development that actually involves her. So with many new Star Wars TV shows currently in the works by Disney and Lucasfilm, creators Jon and Dave Filoni are getting ready to develop new Star Wars projects that will be announced at next year's Celebration event. Now further, it's described that currently Favreau has been making drastic changes behind the scenes in order to regulate the Star Wars franchise. Just recently, Favreau decided to recast one of the fan-favorite characters for a new Star Wars project that is currently in the works. Favreau recently recast the character of Rey for a brand new Star Wars TV show that is set to focus on a side story related to the live-action post-Episode 9 storyline. Now, this project is said to be animated, but however in the realistic sense, and will not appear like Rebels or Clone Wars. Rachel Weisz is now finalized to actually take up the role as an older version of Rey, and will be doing the role in full motion capture technology. Now, originally speaking, Daisy Ridley was going to be a part of this new animated series. That production for it went on a hiatus for a while, and Daisy lost interest. Daisy is still set to appear as a cameo for Rey, though, in the live-action counterpart, but this new series is set to replace Ridley for, of course, the realistic animated show. Now, let me just pause here quick for a second before we get to the next piece that's very crucial. Now, the thing about this is that we talked about this about 7 months ago, about how there is going to be an animated post-Episode 9 series that will work hand in hand with a live-action post-Episode 9 show. And the live-action one, Daisy is still involved with. It's just the animated one that actually recast Rey as a character. Jon Favreau made that ultimate decision and is getting Rachel Weisz to come in, do the full motion capture stuff, and play a realistic animated version of Rey in her older years. Now, I don't know if you guys know who Rachel Weisz is, but she's a star in the Mummy franchise. She's also in a lot of other comedies out there, a lot of other serious films as well, and a lot of artsy movies as well. So she's got a full range of genres that she's worked on. She's got the experience. And honestly, I'm not surprised that they would get somebody like Rachel Weisz. I mean, if you look at her, she could very well easily mimic an older version of Rey if done properly. Again, this is all going to be done in full motion capture, so the animation, it's not going to be like Rebels or Clone Wars with that cartoony-esque design. Not saying that's bad, it's just going to have a very realistic look to it all. The best way to describe it is, think about modern video game cutscenes. that are meant to be realistic. It's gonna look like that, except in the form of a TV show, essentially. That's what they're aiming for. And the thing about this, too, is recasting Rey as a character. I don't think too many fans are gonna have, a big problem with this, given that, number one, this is Rey 30 years after the events of Episode 9, and number two, she is going to appear older, because the live-action counterpart is going to be only 10 years after Episode 9, so Daisy really doesn't have to look all that different, age-wise. So, looking past all of this, alright, looking everything down where Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are, really trying to change things and really trying to do the best that they can to get these projects pretty much up and coming and getting, on the roll with them. Now, the next thing, alright, now Rachel Weisz is said to have had heavy discussions with both Favreau and Filoni before signing on for this role. That is set to take place 30 years after the events of The Rise of Skywalker, with its live-action version taking place 10 years, like I say. Both post-Episode 9 shows are said to work hand-in-hand with each other to tease of what's to come in future, of course, Star Wars projects for a brand new era of the Star Wars franchise. So think about that. There's a handful of new Star Wars shows on the horizon that's going to kickstart this era. Now, Jon and Dave felt that this was the best decision to make at the moment, given that Ridley had no interest in returning to this project. Now, the other thing that I think a lot of fans need to be aware of about this is the fact that Daisy Ridley is fine with this. She doesn't really have a problem with getting recast. She doesn't really have an issue with Rachel Weisz getting on board. I would like to hear what you guys have to say about this, because it is a very interesting choice that Favreau and Filoni had to make. Now, when we look at sequel trilogy content, especially post-sequel content, I think that some fans are going to be very skeptical, because for those that don't like the sequel trilogy vibes or the tones, they might shy away from this, but that's the whole plan. Jon and Dave want to change that. They want to literally give it a brand new tone. It's not going to feel like the sequel trilogy. It's not going to have the same feel that JJ and Ryan gave us, and especially Kathleen Kennedy. It's going to be its own thing, it's going to be its own story, it's going to be its own style, so that's one thing to look forward to, I think. At the end of the day, it is Favreau and Filoni, and I do have full faith in everything that they do. I'm looking forward to Mando 3, Ahsoka next year, see how those two work out, and I think everybody's going to be very convinced that things really are beginning to roll in the positive direction. So like I said before, it all depends on Mando 3 and Ahsoka. Those are two very crucial shows by Jon and Dave that's going to really get things rolling and creating that consistent flow of positive and successful Star Wars TV shows to really tell the fans that Star Wars is back in action and we are doing everything that we can. That's Jon and Dave's message, and that's why they're working so hard on Mando 3 with some of the setbacks, some of the minor delays, some of the extra filming that they're doing. They're really doing everything that they can. So, anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about all of this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.